moving in a straight direction. People are fine if we're, moving in a straight direction up. People tend to be fine if we're moving in a straight direction down. People are very prophetic. People are putting out charts. And then when we enter into range-bound consolidation, we have a few problems. Individuals are optimized, or their strategy is optimized to work in trending markets, like mine is, for example, and like the ones that I teach our students. So they don't do very well in ranging markets. And because they don't have the discipline or the patience to trade higher time frame setups, which sometimes means you wait for several weeks for a trade setup to present itself. There's a lot of issues, right? It's not easy to time frames. And I understand this going in. So, I want to take a few moments here to just speak to, I guess, any premium members or any individuals who are watching this, or just anybody in general who might be struggling with trading higher time frame setups and might have had trouble in this consolidation range or in previous consolidation ranges. Obviously, areas in my recent memory that stick out to me where I noticed that a lot of individuals, not only in the chat, but also members of the group or new members of the group, and just people in general that I communicate with in the realm of trading, expressed having difficulty or experiencing loss in their trading activities, right? So the areas that come to mind in recent memory are, of course, going to be this recent 2-month consolidation period that Bitcoin has been in. This area right here. This area right here, which this Jericho candle, I know for certain wiped out a lot of individuals. And previously, I remember probably the worst area for people to trade in recent memory was back in the 2018, 2019 lows when we were down at 20, excuse me, not 25, but around 3,000 to 4,000. So those are difficult times for people to trade. And a few things can happen, right? Remember, trading higher time frame setups and taking objective, for example, let's say daily or weekly signals, takes patience and time. You have to wait for your confirmation. You have to wait for your setup to emerge, and you have to go with the trade, and you have to be patient for it to play itself out. This can often take several days. This can often take a week. This can often take several weeks. And it's going to take time for you to get to your take profit target. And what a lot of people will do is they want to be tuned into the markets. They want to jump on every kind of quick, rapid candle movement or volume spike or chart that's posted or YouTube video that they see. And they think that they're going to be late or they're going to miss the movement. And so they begin maybe going down to lower time frames and looking for setups there. And what they end up doing is they absolutely will miss that higher time frame setup that they had carefully planned, carefully predicted, laid out, and we're ready to trade. The only place where they messed up was not their analysis, was not their idea, was not their construction of their trade game. It was the patience to just wait and trade that setup, which most likely would have made them money, maybe quite a bit of money. But instead, they felt the need to descend down into the lower time frames to be in a trade because they've heard that that's what a trader means. And they're seeing all these people on TradingView and on Twitter and Discord post these amazing looking trade setups or entries, and you are not that person. You will never be that person. That person is not there to pay your bills. The only person at the end of the day that's going to pay your bills, that's going to execute your trading plan, that pushes your agenda is you. That's it. It's you. And if you are lucky enough, which I am, and most of us are here watching this, to be in a community of individuals that think like you, trade a similar system to you, have similar methodology to you, then you are very, very blessed because you have a community to rely on for support who basically speak the same language that you do. Because in the world of trading, most people don't speak the same language. People tend to use the same words, but they do not speak the same language. Everybody interprets a chart differently. Everybody's discretionary system is different. Everybody's, subjective analysis is going to be different. What a bullish indicator reading to somebody might be a bearish indicator reading to somebody else because of this and that and the correlation with this and maybe the size of this candle or the shape of this candle or that volume spike or this volatility movement or what this indicator over here is saying. So at the end of the day, this is what we focus on and what I find to be the most conducive thing that will help you trade your setups and actually help propel you to make more money and lose less, which is trade your setups, get off social media, talk to people who speak the same language or similar than you, and do not let other individuals' interpretation of price or markets or fundamentals influence your game plan, right? You have to, we say this so many times, it's a cliche, but it is true. Plan the trade, trade the plan. It's your trade be patient enough to take it, and ride those swings, right? Ride those swings. And when the market that you're trading isn't conducive to your trading strategy, well, you shouldn't be getting signals, and you certainly shouldn't be going down to lower time frames to hunt for signals with a strategy that you know you have not tested and therefore have no business trading. If you have not done the back testing, the forward testing, and the live trading to know that your daily strategy and daily indicators work on the 4-hour, and you send me a 4-hour chart setup, I am going to yell at you. If I know that you are engaged in building a daily time frame setup and you are currently back testing your volume filter and you are sending me 15-minute charts and talking about scalping in the members lounge, for example, you're not pushing your own agenda, right? You may think that you are. You may think that you're being profitable, and you might be in the short term, but you are actively working against your long-term success. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times because I've mentored, at least over 1,000 people in the last 4 years since I've been doing this. And the biggest, most common mistake I see all the time is people refusing to have the patience to trade the daily, the weekly, the 3-day, and moving down to the 4-hour, down to the 30-minute, down to the 5-minute, trading the latest indicator that they just saw on their favorite YouTube channel, looking at the latest signal, looking at the latest triangle that their favorite, their best crypto Twitter influencer just published. And it's silly, right? It's not how professionals do things, right? Maybe it's because we're stubborn, maybe it's because we're cocky or whatever it is. I don't know, but it works. We develop our own trading ideas. We don't let others influence our thoughts or our emotions, even though we're susceptible to it, of course. But you have to identify the problem and then take steps to mitigate that problem moving forward. So, for example, if you notice that every time you go on to crypto Twitter, you end up entering into a scalp, get off crypto Twitter. Get on there less, right? There is, I have like a couple Twitter accounts and lists. Obviously, we have the main Twitter account, and it's useful because, I enjoy like communicating and talking and posting stuff out there and getting our message out there. But if you look at like my curated lists of the stuff that I actually follow on my tweet deck, it's mostly fundamentals, right? Like I follow a lot of market economists and, like COVID researchers and philosophers and people who talk about like morality and economics. That stuff interests me far more and honestly informs me far better, right? Looking at the best trade setups and charts out there, it doesn't make me money, man, right? So when you see people post charts, I don't care like how accurate it may be or how good of a trader that they are. Looking at somebody else's chart is probably not going to make you a better trader, right? What's going to make you a better trader is having a plan. For example, like the plan we lay out in Pathways to Profit, to build a strategy, to have a stop and target system, to have a risk management system, to have that all rolled in together, compiled with a management system of markets that you're going to trade. Okay, so this is a plan. This is a trading plan. This is what we specialize in teaching individuals. So you have a trading plan. You and then you have a routine, like our daily scan routine that we teach people to do, right? Which is where they sit down, they analyze the markets, they take their trades, they plan them out, they look to see if there's any, they look to see if everything checks the boxes for allowing them to trade or doesn't allow them to trade, and then they proceed with the trade and they place the trade, and then we walk away from the computer and we go shit post in members lounge. This is what we do, right? Not 15-minute scalps, not 30-minute scalps, not 5-second scalps, not the latest trade setup that you saw on, and listen, no disrespect to Crown, but on Crown's Crypto Cave, good guy actually, and focus on you and your trade plan and your P&L, because at the end of the day, you're responsible for your bills, your P&L, your profit, your family, your house, your mortgage, all of that. It's you. And and the dude that posted that trade setup on crypto Twitter is not going to pay your bills. So listen, I know a lot of people struggle with this, particularly in these market situations. So again, we are trend following traders. So typically what we need to do is I would not say when to exercise discretion. What we really should focus on is strategy building, right? So if you've been getting a ton of signals, if you've been getting chopped up in this latest market range, I'll tell you what the issue is. You have the wrong indicators, okay? You have the wrong indicators. They're too sensitive. I would generally assume that it's going to be your vol filter, right? So for example, we've talked about Wadatar explosion is a very popular confirmer and vol filter that individuals use. It is a public indicator. You guys can go check Wadatar explosion out, or at least our implementation of it out. The reason why I added the false positive filter is because I find that actually really helps smooth the trades out, okay? The original version is really good, but I find that the false positive filter is very, very helpful. That's what I use now. If you use the original settings for Wadatar explosion, it's pretty sensitive, right? It's pretty sensitive. You need to pair that with the correct, like, insensitive confirmer or initiator, right? I'm a pretty strong advocate of having a sensitive initiator. I'm a pretty strong advocate of having an insensitive confirmer. I really like centered oscillator confirmers, although really enjoying the true strength index and modifications of it lately. So that's what went into my latest Donchian system that we've been utilizing for Forex, CFDs, and ETFs. What's really interesting is that as we progress, I see a question here in the chart from June 12th about have we not developed a low volatility seasonal strategy? And the reality is we don't have one that's automated and done and in production mode, ready for production. We have a lot of working betas, right? Because this is something that we would like to offer, right? We understand that there certainly is an edge in low volatility. Well, let me rephrase that. When people say low volatility, I tend to disagree. I tend to say low momentum, but high volatility. So momentum is changing very rapidly, but actual momentum threshold is not increasing. Generally, momentum, or how quickly a market is moving, generally explodes in a strongly trending environment. And when you're range bound, you do have high volatility. Most people say this is low volatility. It's really high volatility, right? If you're chopping around very much, that's high volatility. Things are changing very quickly, but your momentum is overall low, right? So the difference between acceleration and velocity, right? So let's say that, right? So you have the rate of change and then the rate of change. So there certainly are edges to trading those strategies. This is, for example, like what one of my automated strategies that I'm working on right now called ISISbot focuses on, is trading those ranges, trading those peaks, highs, and lows. And I'm working on complementing that with horizontal support and resistance, which I think is a good range bound strategy. And then we also now have in the works a new indicator that can determine objectively whether a market is range bound or trending. And what's really cool about it is kind of that shift in between, right? Where you can kind of catch that sweet zone where you get that alert to, hey, all right, turn off strategy A, turn on strategy B. All things that are going to be tested and rolled out and debuted in our automated trading platform. So, but yeah, I would say right now, the way that I've always dealt with that over the years is that for me anyways, instead of trying to optimize a range bound strategy, which just now years into trading, I'm working on now, I just go trade different markets, right? So for example, when I look at crypto, I'm like, okay, Bitcoin ain't trending right now. Altcoins are popping, so I've been trading a lot of altcoins, and Forex and ETFs. And but for example, like there were 2 weeks there where ETFs weren't really trending, so I'm like, I'm gonna go trade altcoins more. And so I just move around in different markets, right? I'll go trade some indices CFDs. Generally, I prefer trading commodity CFDs, but that's been my approach to low volatility seasonality, right? I'll switch to a different market because there are some markets that move and then consolidate and then move and then consolidate, and everything's seasonal, everything changes, everything is slightly fractal, but not really. So diversification in marketplaces, and I've really enjoyed that. Because that limits my risk exposure to one particular asset class or sector or market, and really allows me to just kind of broaden out. And that's really psychologically empowering when a lot of individuals that I talk to like just want to trade Bitcoin. And I'm like, listen, there's nothing wrong with that, but you are now like tying your profitability and your well-being to timing the movements of one market in one asset class, where you could be diversified and take advantage of a lot of different aspects. And not be so hyper optimized on Bitcoin, right? Like I've been there, I've seen it. You know, you're sitting there like yelling at your monitor, you know, wanting Bitcoin to do something, like reading furiously every Bitcoin thing, getting into the Bitcoin memes, the moon and doom stuff. And, you know, there's no reason for that, right? Like Bitcoin will eventually make a movement, and that's the time to take a trade. Not when, you know, things are getting chopped around. There are other markets that aren't getting chopped around, and I think that's pretty cool. You know, I've always enjoyed, you know, for example, right? I really enjoyed this when I first got into Forex, or when I got into crypto, when I got into crypto and most of my colleagues were still in Forex, you know, coming into like, you know, say we're going to go have some drinks and people are talking about like their latest Forex trades and now the Forex market's dead. Like, for example, 2018 was very much like this, right? 2018 was dead. And I'd say the first half of 2019, honestly, it wasn't until like the latter half of 2019 that the volatility came back in. And, you know, they would complain that, man, you know, the Forex markets are dead and they're not making any money and they're not meeting their quotas. And, you know, I'm over there, I'm like, well, you know, yeah, it's kind of dead over here, but like, look at this, look at the Bitcoin trades that I just made, and look at these, you know, Monero trades that I just made. And, oh, by the way, I'm also trading these ETFs over here. And it's just, it's pretty cool to be diversified. So